The 1930s. A decade etched in the American memory. It was a time of profound hardship, of breadlines and Hoovervilles. But in the heartland, on the vast southern plains, another crisis was brewing. This was not a failure of the stock market, but a failure of the land itself. For years, a relentless drought had gripped states like Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Colorado. The rain simply stopped coming. A deep and unsettling silence fell over the plains. This disaster was not solely an act of nature. It was a crisis born of human ambition and misunderstanding. Millions of acres of native prairie grass were turned over for wheat farming. Lured by record wheat prices during World War I, farmers tore into the land. They were tragically mistaken, unaware they were stripping the land of its only defense. The Great Depression made things worse. Wheat prices plummeted. They pushed the soil to its absolute limit, planting fence row to fence row. The land was exhausted, overfarmed, and left exposed. When the drought arrived, there was nothing left to anchor the soil. The stage was set for a slow, creeping horror. The dust storms were unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They were rolling walls of blackness. They were called black blizzards, blotting out the sun, turning day into an instant, suffocating night. The winds howled, sometimes reaching 60 miles per hour. To be caught outside was to risk being sandblasted or suffocating. The storms buried everything. Fences disappeared under massive drifts of dirt. Barns and farmhouses were slowly engulfed, dust piling until it reached the rooftops. Livestock choked to death, their bodies found half buried in the fields. Dust pneumonia swept through communities claiming the very young and very old. The reach was staggering. On May 11, 1934, one storm carried 350 million tons of soil eastward. Dust fell like brown snow on Chicago, coated Washington, D.C., settled on ships in the Atlantic. Static electricity became dangerous. People dragged chains from their cars to ground them. Housewives hung wet sheets over windows, swept piles of dust every morning, only to have it return by evening. The darkness was both literal and metaphorical, as communities struggled against an unforgiving element. Faced with ecological ruin and economic collapse, hundreds of thousands saw no choice. They had to leave. Their farms were buried under dust, foreclosed by banks. Their health was failing. This triggered one of the largest migrations in American history. Families from Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Kansas packed their belongings into dilapidated jalopies. They headed west, chasing hope in California's fertile valleys. They were not immigrants, but American refugees, displaced from their own country. Their cars, overloaded with mattresses, pots, pans, children, frequently broke down. They faced hunger, suspicion, hostility, met with signs reading, "Okies, keep out." Their story was captured by John Steinbeck in The Grapes of Wrath. The novel chronicled the Joad family's journey from Oklahoma to California's migrant camps. Steinbeck gave a human face to the crisis, transforming statistics into unforgettable characters. FSA photographers like Dorothea Lange and Walker Evans documented the tragedy. Woody Guthrie's folk songs gave voice to the displaced with anthems like "So Long It's Been Good to Know You." Their story of struggle and resilience became a powerful part of the American narrative, cementing the Dust Bowl migrants in national consciousness. As dust storms ravaged the plains, the federal government was finally forced to act. Under FDR, the New Deal brought a new philosophy: government responsibility to help its people and heal its land. The Soil Conservation Service was established, led by Hugh Hammond Bennett. New farming techniques were championed: contour plowing, terracing, strip cropping. The government planted a Great Plains shelter belt, 200 million trees stretching from Canada to Texas. It was a monumental human intervention to restore ecological balance to the ravaged plains. Conservation efforts and the return of rains in fall 1939 ended the Dust Bowl era. The land began to heal. Grasses returned, soil held firm. But scars on the land and in people's minds would remain forever. The decade of dust taught a hard lesson: the land was not limitless. The Dust Bowl stands as a permanent cautionary tale: ecological collapse that changed the nation forever. It drove millions from homes, reshaped agriculture, inspired enduring works of art and literature. To understand deeper, turn to documentaries like the Dust Bowl series or Timothy Egan's The Worst Hard Time. They remind us of our environment's fragility and the consequences of failing to live in harmony with the land we call home.